Hans Go Green. He used to work with the Uganda Breweries then as their marketing and events manager a couple of years ago when I was. So that's the team we're going to have. Dr. James has stepped out briefly. I am asking that they contact him to come back so that I can be able to introduce them. Meanwhile, I can see my brother, Joseph Masembe, in the house. So I will ask Mr. Masembe to come and take a frontal seat so that it's easy. And I'll ask the handler for Dr. James to find out where he is and bring him here so that we can be able to start. Okay. So my name is Richard Kawere. I am the principal of the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training College in Jinja. And one of my key areas of research interest is sustainability. So I'm home and dry when I come to this panel. I'll be taking you through. Each panelist will be having about 8 to 10 minutes to tell us their story, their experiences, their lessons, their actions. And then after that, we shall have key questions from the audience, key observations, key questions, more of a key question and answer session. And then after that, we shall have a group photo for the panelists, and we shall call it a day. So if you have a friend who wants to listen to sustainability from the people who actually make things happen, please invite them to this panel. Okay. I'll begin by inviting, okay, Mr. Masembe is already up the floor. Mr. Masembe is already up the floor, so I'll take you through. Yeah, he's decided to give way. So we will start with Gladys. Gladys, Dr. Gladys. That is Mr. Oka. Doctor? Yes. He's been in conservation for a while. Dr. Gladys Kalema Ziksoka is a founder and CEO of the Conservation Through Public Health, an NGO and a non-profit organization that was established in 2003 after completing her Bachelor of Veterinary Medicine from the Royal Veterinary College, University in London in 1995. She became Uganda's Wildlife Authority's first veterinary officer in 2003. She completed a master's and specialized in veterinary medicine and zoological medicine, residence in North Carolina University. Dr. Gladys has a certificate. Dr. Gladys is a certified in non-profit management, and she did this from the Duke University. She established Gorilla Conservation Coffee in 2015. She has won the 2012 Global Development Network Award, the Japanese Most Innovative Development Project Award in 2020. She's also a St. Andrews Prize for the Environment winner. She's also an Ashok Fellow, National Geographic Explorer, and won the Syria Club Earth Care Award. She's a UNP champion of the Earth. The Global Leadership Prize was on the 2023 BBC 100 women list on the CNN Call to Earth in 2025. And more recently, she's a BBC People Fixing the World winner. She's an author of Walking with Gorillas, The Journey of an African Wildlife Vet, and she has published over 60 papers. So welcome, Dr. Zikusoka, with such a wealth of experience, both in the academia and in practice. Next, we have Dr. James Musinguzi. Dr. James Musinguzi is the Executive Director of the Uganda Wildlife Authority and a multidisciplinary conservation leader with over 2 decades of experience in wildlife conservation, biodiversity management, corporate governance, environmental education, strategic management, and institutional leadership. Over the past 1 year as Executive Director of Uganda Wildlife Authority, he has provided strategic leadership in strengthening wildlife conservation, tourism development, conservation education, stakeholder engagement, and community participation in conservation across Uganda's protected area systems. Prior to joining the Uganda Wildlife Authority leadership, Dr. James Musinguzi served for 14 years as Executive Director of the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center, commonly known as UWEC, where he transformed the institution into a leading conservation education center in Africa, earning recognition as the best zoo in East Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa. I think that is what an achievement that Dr. James Musinguzi transformed the little center of the zoo into a leading center in Africa. He is widely recognized for his contribution to conservation, education, wildlife policy, corporate governance, institution transformation, and community conservation. Dr. Musinguzi has represented Uganda in several international conservation platforms and served in the leadership positions, including chair of the Pan-African Association of Zoos and Aquaria, and board chair of the Chimpanzee Sanctuary and Wildlife Trust. He's an accomplished academic and researcher with a PhD in environmental and natural resources management from Barara University, a Master's of Business Administration and Strategic Management from Uganda Matters University, and a Master of Science in Biology and a postgraduate in project planning, an accomplished academic and management expert. Welcome, Dr. Musinguzi. Our next panelist is Mr. Masembe Joseph, the CEO of Little Hands Go Green. Joseph is a Ugandan environmentalist, lawyer, and social entrepreneur whose work sits at the intersection of climate action, conservation, and sustainable development. As the founder and CEO of Uganda's Little Hands Go Green, he has championed a unique child-led approach to environmental stewardship that is increasingly shaping conversations and ecotourism and wildlife in Uganda. Since 2012, Joseph has led nationwide initiatives that connect communities, especially young people, to nature through tree growing, environmental education, and restoration of degraded landscapes. His work directly contributes to protecting Uganda's biodiversity by protecting ecosystem, restoration, reducing pressure on natural habitats, and fostering conservation mindset among the future generations. Joseph, through his flagship campaigns such as Child's Climate Change March and Community-Based Green Festival, he has mobilized thousands of young people and stakeholders, helping position Uganda as a growing voice in sustainable tourism and conservation advocacy. His approach highlights the critical link between health ecosystem, thriving wildlife, and resilient tourism economies. Joseph comes with practical grassroots perspectives to this panel in conservation, emphasizing protecting wildlife must go hand in hand with empowering local communities. He has participated in global climate platforms, including engagements under the United Nations Framework Convention in Climate Change, where he advocates for inclusive, youth-driven climate change solutions. Thank you very much and welcome, Joseph, to this panel. Then we have Daniela. I hope I pronounced the name very well. Daniela Finish. You know, I have challenges pronouncing French names. Daniela is the founder and CEO of Equera. Daniela Finish has traveled in about 50 countries, in where she found herself strolling on Google Maps in the mid of Malaysia, in Malaysia, in Bueno, desperate to find something that wasn't on every other booking system. What she found was Tong, I hope I pronounce it well, and a community-run eco-map with 65-star reviews and a story that would change everything in her life. 4 days in a rainforest with crocodiles, leech-proof socks, and a guide named Noah. Later, she left with a full heart and one burning question: how hard she spent her entire career in travel tech without even hearing about community-based tourism. She went back to her job and couldn't think anything else apart from where she had come from the community. Daniela quit her job to follow her passion. Daniela spent the next 5 months living out of backpacks across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, staying with the communities she wanted to serve, understanding their world before building it. What she found was an industry hiding in the plain of sight. 250,000 plus locally led tourism operators across 85 countries running extraordinary experiences powered by WhatsApp and spreadsheets completely invisible to the global market. She founded Equera to fix a distribution technology platform that brings community-based tourism online for the first time. Before Equera, Daniela spent 14 years as a global digital transformation in Michelin and a home to go to, living both in the US and Germany, and scaling technology across 170 countries. Today, she's building infrastructure that makes travel industry more equitable on one of the communities at a time. Thank you very much, Daniela. That's Daniela for us. Can we put together our hands together for our panelists? For our panelists, we're going to just have a conversation. We don't need a lot of PowerPoints. We know your wealth of experience towards these people. We are going to have about 10 minutes for each one of you for the questions I will pose. Take us through your experiences. If you have any video, you let us know, Ali, so that we can be able to prepare. If you have anything to share to improve your information sharing, you please let us know quickly. But you're most welcome, and we are very happy to have you on this panel. I will start with my ED. Probably, let me start with maybe my ED. You know, my ED Dr. James, is both a regulator and also a supplier. So he regulates, but also participates in the business. He's in a unique position. Yeah? You are also in the business, but you also must regulate the what? The business. That's the uniqueness that he brings to this panel. But probably I would want to tell you that globally, the movement towards purchasing sustainable tourism products has gained a lot of momentum. And in the next coming years, if your product is not sustainable, you're bound not to become competitive as a destination. There's what we call the consumer pressure. Consumer pressure, if, for example, I'm the client and I want a sustainable product, my agent will definitely have to push the service providers to ensure that what they are going to supply is green or is sustainable. And consumer pressure cannot be stopped. You can only comply. But you can also be able to anticipate. Currently, what we're in today is to gather knowledge as people in the value chain from the experts on how can we position ourselves better as suppliers in the value chain, as product providers, to be able to respond to the growing demand of a sustainable product. Uganda boasts of having one of the most rich biodiversity countries, but that is not enough. Just saying we have the biodiversity, we have this, is not enough to attract the client. What are we doing to ensure that that biodiversity lives for the next generation is what is very important to discuss. That is the trigger for the next traveler. Thank you very much, members, and we have read. Probably I'll start from the extreme and I'll end here. What do you think, Mr. Masembe?
Uganda is already the pile of Africa, without a doubt. Yeah. Everybody knows that. But we are grappling with the effects of climate change at the moment. And if we do not rethink our strategies towards our tourism, we will lag behind. Countries like Costa Rica, Rwanda, Kenya are already beginning to think outside the box. So tourism cannot remain as tourism alone, the way we have always known it. Tourism needs to start to become carbon conscious tourism. I have worked with partners across the board who have wanted to come to Uganda, but they are living in a world where they want to reduce their air miles because of the carbon that they are going to burn, the offsets. So as a country, we need to start thinking differently. And I'm glad that this panel and the leadership of Uganda Tourism Board has already started to think in that light. For instance, in July, we're going to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Consortium has almost 74 countries. So Uganda, with the leadership of Leader One Group and the partnership with the Commonwealth Association of Uganda, is going to establish a Commonwealth forest, which reforests Madeira, in the middle of Madeira. So the idea then becomes, if India takes a delegation of 123 athletes, we will plant the equivalent, we plant trees for 123 athletes that will be able to offset the carbon of their flights to Glasgow and back. We'll do the same for our team in Uganda. And what that will do in a commensurate way will mean that we can then have a delegation from India, from the Netherlands, or from Australia coming to Uganda to look at their trees. So all the Commonwealth countries will take the lead in realizing that Uganda has positioned themselves as a country that is carbon conscious in the tourism sector. Something else, we're also having a chat with my senior and mentor, Dr. James,
who is scaring us?
Someone is carrying us. So, so one of the things I think that we can offer as partners is to wake up in the morning and plant a tree for every tourist that sets their foot in Uganda. Because we are planting them anyway. So what we are then going to do is going to attach them to every tourist that comes. So even those that were a little afraid.
Revenue, they visit the communities, because planting trees only is not enough if the communities don't participate. Because the communities at the end of the value chain protect. If the trees don't mean anything, then they will cut them down. But when the visitor brings them revenue, they are able to protect the trees. So thank you so much for being able to give us that round picture, and also stamping the fact that Uganda is not for visiting, it's for exploring. Sealing it that the people that thought carefully about that tagline really did something very good, and we want to appreciate them if they are in the house. Thank you. You want us to run the video?
Yes, run the video. And just as you're getting it set, because I think it's on that computer, I would like to say one very simple thing. Among the things you're going to see in the video, you'll see the initiatives we have done in Uganda. But one very important thing I want you to pay attention to is, since 2019, we have been doing a climate change march for children in Kampala. And last year we had 6,000 children marching to the footsteps of Parliament. And some people from Germany spotted it in Munich. So they called me, and we had a series of meetings. And they wanted to send a delegation of 5 people to come and be part of the march in Kampala in 2026. So in hindsight, I said, don't send 5 people. Let us do the march simultaneously in Kampala and Munich at the same time. And here was the essence. So when we did it this time around, we had 8,000 people in Kampala and 500 people marching in Munich, but it was being mirrored live on either side. Now the kind of conversations they are having is, how do we come and support the green clubs next year? Can we bring 200 people or 500 to come and be in the march, and you bring others? Now that is how you drive eco-conscious tourism. So hopefully, let's look at this. Thank you.
Go to me that I can proudly say that I have built over 1,500 plus trees around Uganda, and that just makes me so happy and at peace in my heart, because I know that I have done something to change the environment.
The compound of this school is partly what it is because of the little book.
I'm happy that I've been able to learn some basics on how to plant trees that have enabled our environment to be improved and be so much better. With Little Hands Go Green, we as children have hope to make Uganda greener like how it was before.
The environment isn't asking us to conserve her for her. She's asking us to conserve her for us and for the future generations. So it's up to you and me to protect the environment, to do better, and to save her.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as I hand back the microphone, this is an exemplification of how we can implant and infuse eco-conscious tourism and the principles of ESG into driving our Explore Uganda campaign. Because you have the tools. That is community resilience. It is adaptation. You can use these children and the efforts they are doing. It is practical to drive tourism and attract people to a country that is not just a Pearl of Africa, a green Pearl of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Joseph, reserve the questions for Joseph. Also compliments for Joseph. Thank you very much. I will say that he has made his case. It is very interesting. This is, I'll do that. Okay, thank you. So Joseph takes on the little hands, the young people, inculcates into them the discipline of why they should be conscious to their environment, to their nation, and now the tourism. How do we build on such foundations for green destinations? Next we have Dr. Gladys, an accomplished vet, but also somebody passionate about conservation and sustainability. Dr. Gladys, the journey for Uganda's tourism sustainability goal is for everybody. It's for everybody. It's in our spaces. It's where we do. What are those key specific areas as a business person, from an individual perspective, that you think we can do to sustainably promote Uganda from your actions that you've been doing? What are those things that you think, as business people, as individuals, what is our contribution in building Uganda as a sustainable destination?
Thank you so much, Richard, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. It's a very interesting question, but I think all of us can do something. This is a very inspiring video. Well done, Mr. Masembe. I think it's Can everyone hear me now? It's better. I think it's important to engage the young people at an early age. And I would say that they are our only hope, our current hope for the future. I got into conservation as a young child, I would say, just by mistake, kind of. But I grew up with lots of pets at home, and I was lucky to have a mother who allowed me to follow my dream. She actually supported me. And so she knew that I loved animals. So when I went to Chibuli Secondary School, the wildlife club had closed, so I revived it. And that was when my conservation journey actually began as a teenager. We went to Queen Elizabeth National Park, one of the first 3 national parks in Uganda, and found very little wildlife, so I was very disappointed. And I felt, why don't I become a vet who brings back the wildlife? Because by that time, I decided I wanted to be a vet. And that became a journey. That such a position didn't exist before. So later on, when I was doing my veterinary school in London, Royal Vet College, University of London, I could come home to work with animals of my choices. Worked at the Entebbe Zoo before it became UEC. Looked after those orphan chimpanzees that were victims of the bushmeat trade, and I learned a lot from that. Then I also worked in Budongo Forest. Finally, I got to Bwindi. Now, I have to say, we keep saying Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. I want to say, I hope it's become the Pearl of Africa now. But at the time that I started my conservation journey, we had lost that title because we had very little wildlife in the park. And so when I got to Bwindi, I suddenly realized, oh my God, you know, we have these mountain gorillas, they're so charismatic. You know, I fell in love with them. And I felt we really need to protect them. We really need to protect them. And so I decided at that point, I want to be a full-time wildlife vet, not only a vet who also works with wildlife on the side. And so even me as a vet student, I think I was 24 at the time, I felt like I could make a difference. So we can all make a difference. It doesn't matter what age you are, what stage of life you're in, we can all hope to make Uganda a green destination. I remember going, when I would visit the gorillas with the tourists, collecting samples, they would ask me lots of questions. They were excited that I was doing this. That time we only had 2 gorilla groups in Bwindi, habituated for tourism, only 12 tourists in a day in Buhoma, so everybody got to know each other. I actually miss those days because now it's so big and so many people. But it was really nice to invite you for tea, and they want to hear more about what you have to say. So later on, I convinced Dr. Droma to hire me as a first vet doctor. And he took it on. He was excited because tourism had begun and they were concerned that tourists could make gorillas sick. So that's why I was hired. They probably had it in the plans, but I made it happen faster. So then I was hired, and that was a very exciting journey. I realized that me, even as a vet doctor, I had to get engaged in tourism. I couldn't just be focusing on my work as a vet. Because one thing that impressed me, we talk about communities. Even as a vet student, I found out that most of the trackers and rangers used to be poachers, or their parents were poachers. But now they were earning a better living protecting the wildlife than killing it. So we used to call them born-again poachers. And those are the best guardians of the forest. So that's kind of how I went back to London very excited. I could really see where my conservation journey was going. So when I started that at UA, actually, it was that time there were fewer people. And my first immediate boss was Captain Otekat, and I'm glad he's here. Captain John Otekat. He's actually the chairperson of the Honorary Wildlife Officers, of which I'm a member, having served on the board of UA with him. It was that time there was very few tourists, remember? Very little money to support the wildlife, but him and Dr. Drom and many of the senior managers just kept things going. They just kept things going. Now it's a lot easier. Now there's 28 groups habituated for tourism, lots of money coming in. Uganda is now sustaining itself because of the gorillas. Actually, gorillas brought people back to Uganda. And so now the mountain gorillas are here, everybody wants to see them, but how do we make sure that we keep that very green tourism, I can say, because it's not mass tourism. It's a few people paying a lot of money. And the kind of tourists who come to visit gorillas are not the ones you find on a beach in Spain or Mombasa. These are people who care about the environment. They care about nature. And they're willing to get somewhere and walk many hours to see wildlife. Those are eco-tourists. And so it's a very good entry point to get those people interested in protecting nature beyond their tourist visits. Because they've come all this way, they're willing to, some of them are actually quite old, but they're like, I'm in retirement, I want to see what I can do to protect wildlife. And so we have a unique opportunity in Uganda that such tourists visit Bwindi, Kibale, Rwenzori, Elgon. They're not the mass tourists, but they're the eco-tourists who want to give back. And I experienced that a lot. I realized also then when we set up CTPH a few years after working in UA, and we set it up when people made gorillas sick, the local communities with scabies, and we found that we needed to also improve their health. We set up CTPH, one of the first field One Health programs in the whole world, actually, not just Uganda, in the whole world. Uganda, we pioneer lots of things, just like Little Hands Go Green. We have a lot of innovation in this country. And we should be proud of ourselves. It doesn't only come from abroad, it's here in this country. So when CTPH began, we found we had to engage communities more meaningfully, and that was a very interesting journey. And we started to engage them a lot. Their health is improving, they're teaching each other to be healthier. We work with over 430 community volunteers. They're reaching over 10,000 homes around the park. So now, when tourists come, now it's got to the point where the responsible tour operator doesn't only take them to see gorillas, and they stay in the expensive lodges, and they don't meet anyone. The responsible tour operator makes sure they meet the community members, they buy a craft, they actually hire a porter to go to the gorillas. It's actually quite steep. And some people are like, I don't want to hire a porter, I'm very fit. Or they feel a bit embarrassed. But then they end up using other people's porters when it gets difficult. And it's a real job. These same porters, when you hire them, they are supporting 5 other people in their families. So a lot of tourists just need to understand that when you come, it's not enough to just see gorillas or chimps. You have to actually go out there and support communities. And it's important that we keep growing community tourism in these areas. And I think that's something you're also going to talk about. And so having green destination is so important. When we developed our policy brief on responsible tourism to Great Apes, which started during the COVID pandemic, and we worked together with International Gorilla Conservation Program and the Africa CSO Biodiversity Alliance, which was supported by African Wildlife Foundation. Because during COVID, people were like, we can't do anything. We're like, yes, we can. We can get people to wear masks. We can get everyone to wear masks, the rangers, the tourists, the people who had them back, the gorilla guardians when they come out, the community members. We can get them to be responsible even before tourists come. But then also we should make sure they visit the communities. Because if the communities don't meet tourists, they'll still enter the forest to poach. So this was launched in Kigali at the first Africa Protected Area Congress. And it's both in English and French. Because actually it was interesting to discover that there are 13 countries in Africa that have great ape tourism. Can you believe it? It's not just Uganda and Rwanda and Tanzania, 13 countries in Africa. But Uganda is the furthest with 6 tourism sites. So I think UA needs to be very proud. We are the leaders. Followed by Rwanda, then Tanzania. But there's tourism sites all over. Even in Congo, Congo-Brazzaville, Guinea, places like that. All over, Ivory Coast. So we developed it so that all these countries in Africa that have great apes follow the same regulations. Keep a distance, put on masks, be hygienic, but also give back to the communities. And so we're hoping that through this, tourists then become, even before they arrive Uganda, they become the protectors of the wildlife. We want them to become the protectors. The communities are the protectors. They work closely, with the Wildlife Authority, they work closely with NGOs, and we support them to protect the wildlife. I'm going to talk about Gorilla Conservation Coffee, one of the products we have. And this came out also because of these experiences. Whenever you go to visit gorillas, we cross coffee farms, and we found that these people are not getting a fair market or a steady price, and they were still entering the forest to poach. But they were not part of the tourism industry. They are not porters, rangers, they didn't have crafts to sell, but they had coffee. And so we support them, we give them a good price for premium or specialty coffee. Actually, Uganda is known for coffee and gorillas, isn't it? Yeah. And so Gorilla Conservation Coffee captures both. And so through this, we're keeping more people out of the forest, by giving them a viable livelihood. And tourists, when they come, they're excited. They're like, oh man, this is a coffee tree. Wow, they've only seen coffee in a supermarket or a cafe. And so that also becomes part of the tourism tour. When they come to visit the gorillas, they can also visit the farmers. And they also want the lodges to only They want to buy the lodges to buy coffee from their local people around. But you know who one of our best buyers has been? Haven Lodge. I don't know if any of you know Haven, but it was started by the local communities. Why do they like to buy this coffee? Because it's supporting their own community. And so it's so important to support communities wherever we are. My son, you talk about that. I'm very proud of your daughter, Talia. And I'm glad to have inspired her. Children, we can get them involved in conservation. I'm sure you got her involved.
Yes.
So our son Indigo's been going to Bwindi since he was, 4 months old. He saw his first elephant in a national park, not in a storybook. And he eventually worked at UWEC. So under the mentorship of Dr. James Musinguzi and his team, he wrote this book, Zookeeper for a Week. And James is actually one of the endorsers of this book. So it's never too late to get children involved. This book won an award in America. Moonbeam Children Book Award. So he's an award-winning author. And his book came out before mine. He felt a bit sorry for me. He said, your book's much bigger than mine. You're going to take a long time to finish it. And he was right. So I wrote a book, Walking with Gorillas, about my conservation journey, which I've kind of described in what I've said. And even books like this are getting people interested in supporting Uganda and showing how we can be more green, a green destination. And it was published in America, so but some tourists come and say, I read about Mubare family and Rushegura family in your book, and I want to visit them at Bwindi. So I think all of us can do something to make Uganda a better place and to make Uganda a green destination. It's actually already a green destination. It's just waiting to be explored, as you said, not visited, and discovered, and we can all play our part in making Uganda a green destination. I think before I finish, I'll also talk about my mom, who really supported me. She went to visit the gorillas when she was 70. And for somebody of her generation to go to Bwindi, she visited them in a skirt. and the local communities were like, Mukekuru, what are you doing going to see gorillas? They loved her. They were so excited to see her because she was like them. They used to wonder, this young woman wearing trousers, but then my mom was wearing a skirt. And she saw them. She's not fit, but she saw them. They were 45 minutes away. She loved them. She said, they're just gentle vegetarian giants living in a big salad bowl. And this is important because she was scared that the gorillas were going to do something to me, and she almost stopped me studying them. She was such a protective mother that I almost never fulfilled my destiny, I would say. And Captain Otek had said, she would tell him, you look after my daughter. If anything happens, Captain had to answer and go to jail, maybe. Yeah, but I'm so happy that she got me to really get involved in conservation because she allowed me to follow my dream. She was one of the first female politicians. And when we had the first Wildlife Act to create the Wildlife Authority, she came to me and said, we've approved your conservation work in Parliament. So that was very, very good. I turned her into a conservationist. You can turn your parents into conservationists. You definitely can.
Thank you, Dr. Gladys. You've given us your account as your account of your life and your actions, and how they can inspire conservation, how they can inspire people. How can we inspire Ugandans to be having a sustainable destination? The communities where the gorillas live, how are they catered for? How are they participating in the value chain? How are we improving their livelihoods? That is critical in the sustainability journey. Thank you so much. There's one key thing that people are doing right now, yes. What we are calling greenwashing. Greenwashing is pretending to promote yourself as a green supplier. What has been your experience about that in 1 minute?
In 1 minute. I would say, yes, people want to greenwash. But I think we need to just educate them better so that they don't greenwash. And so I find that actually a lot of the tour companies, the tour operators, are beginning to understand what it is to make Uganda a green destination and not to do greenwashing. A lot of them support programs on the ground. You know, for example, Volcano Safaris is supporting our work. They're about to open a Bwindi Conservation Center, which will be featuring our work in their center in Bwindi. And they've sent us donors, and many of the tour companies bring us people to see our work. I won't mention all of them, but there's so many. You know, Classic Africa, Speak Uganda, so many of them. They always bring us tourists, and that is a way that they won't be greenwashing. They won't be greenwashing, and that's so important to get all of them involved. We have a Gorilla Health and Community Conservation Center at Bwindi. People are always bringing them to us. And when tourists come, they realize, okay, we're not just staying at a lodge that says they support conservation. We're actually seeing them supporting projects or organizations that are, and putting us in contact. They eventually become donors to all the various initiatives around, the local initiatives.
Thank you.
So I think that's one way of preventing it. We have a camp in Bwindi, Gorilla Conservation Camp. People can also stay there and learn more about our work, students, tourists, volunteers. And so all of these things are another way of people giving back to conservation, even as they're traveling.
Thank you, Dr. Gladys. Thank you. We reserve questions for Dr. Gladys. We'll have some moments. If you have no questions, take them down. I will go to Daniela. Daniela is both a passionate tech person, and also, because of her experience, she turned into a lover of communities, like in tourism communities. Yes, Daniela, in your life as a tech, and now combined with the with community tourism experiences, share with us some of the lessons that you think Uganda should pick on to ensure that we have a sustainable tourism destination along our value chain. Just share with us some of those quick experiences and lessons.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you all for having me. Good afternoon. Before I share anything, I want to share a video because there's some more important voices than mine that I'd like you to hear from. So, sorry, we've got one more video in your face. Let me know if you need my password again. Yeah, great. Okay, one second.
There's a nice seat here that looks like one for the panelists.
Okay. It was nice to have it off on that. Okay. All right.
So we hope you join us. Their main vision was based on the improvement of the local people. Explore Uganda, this Bikibale, Sibigodi, and the culture of Uganda as a whole.
Uganda has amazing community-based tourism products that are ready to be brought to the global market.
Community tourism is the way to go.
And we are committed to work with these communities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just Daniela, you can now tell us your experiences.
Yeah, great. Is it okay if I sit down again?
It's
Yeah,
okay.
okay, thanks. Yeah. So thank you for the attention. I hope you guys recognize some of the locations in the video, correct? And did anyone recognize any of the people? I think maybe somebody back there recognized some of the people. Who you saw in the video were some of the amazing community-based tourism organizations that exist in Uganda and have been doing incredible work. And let me tell you about what Aquera does and why Uganda is very specific to our hearts and why we're really passionate about the sustainability that Uganda already has, both in the biodiversity and the climate that we've talked about, but also on the social side. So Aquera is a digital platform that helps community-based tourism organizations get online, bookable, and in a format that FITs and travel buyers can buy and book. And we do that, we then distribute them into B2C, so FIT, direct-to-consumer channels, as well as travel buyer channels. And we do that, you heard my story a little bit earlier about how I discovered that gap, but community-based tourism is actually a pretty big industry. It's been around since the 1970s, it's present in 85 countries. And community-based tourism products have been built by really incredible organizations, but a lot of times there's a bit of a gap between the marketing and digitization, and that's not anybody's fault. The travel tech world is very confusing. Technology is changing so much, especially with Gen AI as well. And I'm coming from the travel tech space, and just to give you an idea, if you make a great tourism product and then you want to connect it to multiple sources, there's over 300 products that you have to look through today, and none are built for community-based tourism organizations. So this is why 2 years ago, after seeing this amazing eco-lodge in Malaysian Borneo, I quit my job to build into this gap, because I really, really believe that socially sustainable tourism is the future of tourism. A couple of things about that. So travel leakage, I'm sure you guys know this term, is a bit of a problem. In a lot of places around the world, up to 95% of the tourism revenue that comes into a destination leaves because of intermediaries, because of margins, because of just the way the industry was set up. And often there's not a lot of benefit to the communities that are using their time and their resources and being very hospitable to open up their communities. They're not seeing the financial benefit. And so that's why community-based tourism came into existence. For those of you that aren't familiar with community-based tourism, it's a model where tourism is locally owned and operated, and a percentage of revenue goes into a community fund. And that community fund is totally managed by the community to sustainably develop the individuals. So you don't just benefit if you're employed by tourism, but you actually benefit by being a community that's involved in tourism. And it's already been mentioned a bit why that's so important, but I have to turn it back to Dr. Gladys for a second, because we texted about this, but last year I was at Poata and saw her speak for the first time, and she really explained this concept of the importance of involving communities in tourism on conservation. And it makes total sense. If the communities aren't involved and not benefiting from it, I understand why it's difficult. So this link between communities and conservation is so strong. So the reason that you saw so many amazing Ugandan community-based tourism organizations is because when I quit my job, I couldn't build this tech sitting behind a desk somewhere. So I rented my apartment and moved into a backpack and started living with communities across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And the plan was to go to all 3 continents before starting, but I thankfully got stuck in Uganda because I a little bit fell in love with the country. It was my first time to Uganda last year at Poata, and it was a really amazing experience, and I spent the next 5 weeks road tripping around with 2 of the individuals you saw in the video. Mr. Rogers Nasasira from Mbarara, he's been working in travel operations in Uganda and CBTO space for many years. And Mr. Sabiti Fenekanzi in Fort Portal. He's been running Katara Foundation for Regional Tourism and training community-based tourism organizations for many years. So the 3 of us literally drove around Uganda. We did the main tourist loop, but we didn't do the main tourist activities. We stayed in communities. We stayed at amazing guest houses that you have. Did you know that you have a UN award-winning organization here in the Rwenzori Mountains that has a beautiful guest house, Ruboni Community Camp, and it's very beautiful, UN award-winning in 2024. We stayed there, and we stayed in a lodge, and we went for a hike and learned how individuals from all over Uganda go and get trained in tourism. We went to Renjiro Community Campsite, which is a beautiful place on Lake Mburo National Park border. We went down to Kisoro Organic Volcanic Coffee, where the host there is very passionate about coffee, giving you a 3-hour tour, or a 1 hour if you're not so passionate, but and you can also go, it's amazing, and having actually the best beans that my friends back in America and Europe have tasted. So My point is, by the end of 5 weeks, we had already really seen that the community-based tourism in Uganda is very, very strong. That not only is it a strong social enterprise model, but it's very strong experiences and products that can compete alongside the market. So we launched a pilot here in September of last year, and since then we've brought over 40 community-based tourism organizations online with over 200 products. We are just in the final stages of developing an integration with Google, which means that in the future, when you Google things to do in Kampala, any community-based tourism organization close by will pop up on Google at the very top, which is really, really exciting for community-based tourism organizations that often are hidden behind signs. And yeah, thank you. That's a very big win for the communities. And also, we're working on ways to integrate into travel agencies and travel buyer supply chain, because you guys know the travel supply chain, it's also complicated, right? There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of it's amazing and it's wonderful, but it's also pretty hard to navigate, especially as a SMME who's trying, or a CBTO who's trying to run their business as well. So maybe just two more things before I pass it over. The thing is, why I love and we started in Uganda, Rwanda, and what's amazing is we learned a lot, and a couple of our customers are here, and they can tell you when we did good things and when we did things that weren't so good, and we appreciate the feedback. That's helped us grow along the way. But we're really excited to start expanding beyond Uganda, and let me tell you why that's still important for Uganda. It doesn't mean that we're forgetting about Uganda. Actually, it's quite the opposite. We really want to grow this segment of tourism around the world. And what our vision is that, we say this often, that the leaders of tourism tomorrow look a lot less like the 1% and a lot more like the beautiful corners of the world where tourism happens. And we really want to elevate these leaders around the world because we so believe in the products. We believe it's the future of tourism. I didn't even mention this, but actually last year a big study came out that said that 54% of travelers are just as concerned about their impact of travel on people. And that's the exact same number that are concerned about the impact of travel on the planet. So think of how, social sustainability is really becoming a huge topic. There's regulation from the EU starting in September that's going to require a lot more transparency. And the way that we work, we don't want to make our name Aquera big. We're actually, if you know travel tech, we're like a channel manager and we sit in between. We want the community-based tourism organizations to be the one that in 5-10 years from now are known, and we're just the in-between digital layer that you never see that's powering these experiences. So that's what I love my job. And then I have to share one thing that I read this morning. I wasn't planning on it, but I had to once I saw it. It's by an author named Priscilla Shirer, if you know her. But she said, leadership is never measured by what you say as much as the direction as you choose to go. And so to very longly answer your question, I think there's so much leadership already being done by so many community-based tourism leaders in Uganda, and we're very, very excited to be their digital partner and propel them and allow them to take the main stage that they are very capable of taking with their products. And I really believe that's going to be a strong competitive offering in Uganda tourism in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Daniela, as I said, she sits at the point of technology and her passion in the community tourism. And honestly, we cannot talk of sustainable tourism without the heroes in the communities, because they are the vanguards. They actually protect these resources, or they actually saw these resources before we started promoting them. And it's the high time. If you have not included a community in your package, I think you need to talk to Daniela and the other people to ensure that today you create a product that also takes care of the social lives of the people where this product is consumed. Thank you, Daniela, and thank you for the technology. And more questions from those people will be coming through you. Now I come to the big fish. The big fish. Dr. James. you have a very complicated job. You're a trader in the business and you're a regulator. Quite a conflict of interest. But this gives you a unique position to drive sustainability in the entire value chain. I want you just to give us a few of your experiences, lessons, and actions that you're taking, this time as a supplier. The products you supply, how have you ensured that these products embed the principles of sustainability along the value chain?
Okay.
But also, let me also give you the second question. As a regulator as well, what policies have you put to trigger sustainability among those that plug into your product? That means you can have a feed forward and feed backwards, and you can sit and control and ensure that this value chain has embedded sustainability in the operations. As a regulator also, you'll give us that experience. The big fish, Dr. James.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kawere, for this great moderation you're making. I want to thank, first of all, my colleagues for the great insights they have given. We've been working with Little Hands Go Green for a long time, conservation through public health. I'm yet to see how we can work with you as well. And I think they have given us very good insights. I thank you and look forward to working with you again. James Msinguzi is my name, Executive Director, Uganda Wildlife Authority for 1 year and 1 month as I talk. Yes, and it's been challenging but also exciting journey, especially when you put me at the spot of being both a supplier and a regulator. What are the products that I do supply? I supply tourism products and services. I supply conservation as products. And that is critical because we, as the Uganda Wildlife Authority, we are tasked, for example, by the Uganda Wildlife Act Cap 3 and 5 to carry out wildlife conservation and management as one of the products in terms of conservation. And through that, we do general management plans for all our conservation areas. And through these general management plans, we make sure we demarcate particular areas, area for conservation, area for tourism. We even have low impact zones where we have very minimal impact. And actually one would pay more to access that area. So in addition to that, of course, we also do a lot of wildlife management. Right now we have just undergone a merger process where Uganda Wildlife Authority has been merged with the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center. And we've put in place specific personnel to deal with species, what we call species specialists. And these are people who start in the morning to study a particular species and become experts and know how do we sustain these species, how endangered are they, at what level of endangerment and protection should we accord them. That's why you've seen of recent, we've done a lot of translocation around the country. We've taken rhinos to Ajai Wildlife Reserve. We've taken rhinos to Chidepo Valley Conservation Area. And last week we were in Kenya benchmarking and trying to see how do we bring back the eastern indigenous black rhino to Uganda, all as a way of diversifying tourism products and services, but also ensuring that we have insurance populations of our rhinos. Rhinos got extinct in this country in the 1983, and we've moved from 1 rhino to 60 as we talk right now. We deserve a hand clap. Yes. And so 60, and now you can see the rhino in the wild, so you can see the big 5 animals, you know, that everybody would like to see, plus the 2, of course, the chimpanzees and the gorillas in Uganda. So you're able to see the big 5, including the rhinos. And once we complete the picture by bringing the eastern black rhino, then we shall be able to go back to the glorious days of the 80s when we used to have these rhinos. So as a supplier, we carry out wildlife conservation, wildlife management, but also ecosystem management. As you may all know, very well looked after nature and landscapes are very good buffers for climate change. And if they are looked after very well, we must put that disclaimer. If landscapes and nature are looked after well, then they become very good buffers for climate change. And therefore, it is our responsibility as the Uganda Wildlife Authority to ensure we look after the ecosystems, the landscapes, and nature very, very well. What are we doing in this regard? Ensure that we recruit personnel. Now, as I talk right now, we have 1,300 rangers whom we've recruited. They have started undergoing training in our own training school in Murchison Falls National Park. As the Wildlife Authority, we've set up our own school. And we are working with the sister forces, the UPDF and the Uganda Police, to carry out and pass on training in conservation, in discipline, law enforcement, technology. And so once we have this personnel on the ground, then we are sure they are going to be able to enforce the rules. Because you see, in our work, you have the carrot, but also the stick. Because at some point, you have to, for example, we have set up waste management guidelines. But still, you see people passing waste through the screen, throwing. So somebody must be there to enforce, to ensure that these guidelines are enforced. And so we must train personnel. Right now, we are training the rangers to be able to come out and enforce. But also, we are using technology to be able to curb poaching. You have the personnel that are going to support in patrolling, law enforcement, intelligence gathering, and so they are also going to help in fighting poaching. But in addition to that, we are stepping up our technological efforts. We are investing in drones, drone management. The other day we had an institutional training for drone management. We want to be able to fly a drone where it detects wrong activity, a message is sent, and then we can be able to go into force with the personnel. So that we use a combination of physical people, personnel, but also the drones, and that is very, very helpful. Right now, we are using SMART and Earth Ranger technological systems, where we are able to collar our animals and follow them in real time. And this is what we are starting to do with the mantrak, the elephants that lead the others, so that we are able to monitor them as they are about to reach the edge of the park to go into the communities. We are able to send our personnel to bring them back. We have also put in place wildlife scouts to support us within the communities to make sure the animals don't go out, or if they are about to go out, we inform them and they make sure they bring them back so that we reduce incidences of human-wildlife conflicts. In ecosystem management, of course, we have also worked hard in setting up particular rules and regulations to ensure that our animals are protected. Gladys is an expert here in gorillas that she has worked on. We have set in place, or put in place rules and regulations. You can only watch the gorillas 10 meters away. You cannot be more than 8 in a group. You must have a mask on to make sure we protect these great apes so that we are able to sustain them for today and tomorrow. We have put in place the waste management guidelines. We have put in place ape tourism guidelines. We have encouraged the hotels and entertainment places within the parks to promote bottled water instead of plastic bottled water. They have metallic bottled water instead of plastic bottled water. And all these are trying to help because we don't want that plastic to end up in the ecosystem and the value chain. And all that is helping. We are also carrying out community conservation efforts. Without the communities, we cannot achieve conservation. And the communities, we are putting them at the center of what we are doing. All the community, the money that is collected, 20% goes back into the communities as revenue sharing. The communities determine what they want to do with that money. Is it a dispensary? Is it a health center? Is it a school? And then we support them to achieve what they have planned for. 20%, this is by law. It is stipulated in the Wildlife Act Cap 315 that we must pass back 20% of whatever we collect. We also have compensation schemes that were developed, and 5% of all the money we collect is put on a separate compensation fund account. And we're supposed to evaluate if, for example, wildlife gets into the community, destroys somebody's crops, or kills somebody, we compensate that person through evaluating the extent of damage, and then that person or that community is compensated. And all this is aimed at creating passionate communities, creating partnership with the communities. We do a lot of community sensitization. and awareness creation. We go to the radios, we sit with these people and understand some of the challenges they have and how we can support them. And of course, when I was talking about Earth Ranger, the technology we are using, I wanted to give you one example. About 3 months ago, we got a challenge where some lions actually were killed in Queen Elizabeth. And we had to follow, we just went onto the screen and followed the movement of those lions. And in less than 1 week, we were able to apprehend the culprits, and they are in courts of law right now. So technology is helping us to be able to look out for the bad people, but also to make sure that the rules are followed in the right time. We are also doing research and monitoring. We need to monitor the wildlife populations and see, is this population of this particular species growing well? We recently released the State of the Wildlife Resources Report in the country, where we are able to do research and censuses and know the extent with which a particular species is either growing or dwindling, which helps us to plan properly, which helps us to put in place measures to grow this population, because as we know, any tourist who comes here wants to see thriving wildlife populations. And that one we are ensuring through translocations in the country. We are moving zebras, we are moving rhinos, we are moving giraffes around the country, and we are setting insurance populations. We have now embarked on the lion population and repopulation program, because this is one of the challenges that has been around. We are partnering with Wildlife Conservation Society in the Ishasha area in Queen Elizabeth National Park to see how we work together to repopulate, grow the population of lions. But we are also going to Chidepo Valley Conservation Area to see how we grow the lion population in Chidepo. We've just been carrying out a DNA forensic analysis of our lion population, and has given us indicators where we need to go in order for us to grow this lion population. We have set up a DNA forensic lab as I talk. We launched this 2 weeks ago, and it is helping us in prosecution of wildlife crime. Because what we were having as a challenge, people would be got with buffalo meat, and they would say, oh, this is cow meat, this is goat meat. But now we are able to pin somebody at the scene of crime using this lab. We've also set up a canine unit at the airport and other border posts, and we're able to sniff illegal wildlife products so that we can have sustained wildlife populations. People should not kill our animals through poaching. Uganda used to be categorized as a gang of 8 in terms of ivory going out of the country. And most of these ivory actually was not coming in from Uganda, but rather the neighboring countries, and they were using Entebbe International Airport to export it. At the moment we put in place a canine unit, it's no more, because the bad guys know that we shall catch them with this ivory. And these dogs are very well trained that they are even able to sniff the smallest bangle that somebody may be wearing. So yes, a lot of initiatives are going on to be able to ensure we promote sustainability of our wildlife populations, sustainability of the destinations, but also good feeling and good happiness of the tourist that is coming to enjoy these services. We are now setting up weather stations in all our conservation areas. We are starting to capture data of the rainfall, data of the air quality. We want to promote this and use it as a marketing tool for the tourists in Washington to know that when I go to Bwindi, I'm going to be breathing air of this quality. And that will be showing on the screen to tell you that our conservation areas have this quality of air. Please come and enjoy this air. So that is also going to help us in promoting sustainability in our areas. I also need to talk about research and monitoring. We are able to carry out research about the particular species of animals, research about the particular species of plants that we have, and we are promoting this through partnerships. We are also signing a lot of partnerships with researchers, academic institutions, so that they can come and support us to come up with evidence-based solution towards wildlife conservation in the country. And of course, as a regulator, we regulate or we license various concessionaires, people who want to build lodges in the conservation areas, and we give them specifications We want ecologies, for example, that blend within the environment. We make sure they are placed within areas that are not going to interfere with the wildlife. For example, no breeding zones. We don't have those lodges that are supposed to be put in these breeding zones. No, we want them to be put in the tourism zone, because we've studied and realized that this is a particular site for the tourism zone. It's not going to interfere with the breeding of the animals, the breeding patterns. It's not going to interfere with the movement and the corridors. Corridors is another area that we are now strictly looking at. How do we expand the wildlife corridors? Because we need genetic viability and exchange of genetics between the various populations of wildlife. Of course, we are putting electric fencing as part of mitigating human-wildlife conflict, but we are doing it in such a way that we are leaving an escape route or a movement route where our animals can move. And now we are promoting conservancies, a very good concept that we have learned about from Kenya. We were in Kenya and we've benchmarked conservancies. As long as we don't let communities get benefits from the wildlife on their land, we are wasting time. So we have decided, as the Uganda Wildlife Authority, we are now amending the law and we are going to embed conservancies within the law. Of course, the law at the moment allows a wildlife use rights of wildlife farming, and it allows use of wildlife on private land for tourism purposes, but we want to entrench it further by promoting wildlife conservancies. This is where communities, individuals, benefit from wildlife on their land by promoting conservancies, and through that they become passionate about the wildlife because they are earning from it, and so they'll keep it. And so we shall ensure we have wildlife today, tomorrow, and the future. The policy of employment at the Uganda Wildlife Authority emphasizes communities around the protected areas. Like the rangers we recruited, they were from around the protected areas. When it comes to even other jobs, we make sure we look at the communities around. And this has helped us to improve community partner relationships. Of course, we have a long way to go. It's work in progress, but I want to give you a typical example. About a month ago, where we had one problematic elephant going out in Kamwenje into the communities in a place called Kahunje. The communities didn't harm this elephant until when they gave us an opportunity to translocate this elephant from the community back into the park. And through sensitization and messages on the radio, we've been able to work together with the communities, and we are strengthening our community relationship and interface. Of course, when it comes to tourism promotion, we are now working very hard to make sure we diversify our tourism products and services. We have a lot of other tourism products that can be generated in the various conservation areas other than looking at only the animals that are there. We have paleontological products and services, botanical services, or products that we are trying to develop. And say, let's have, for example, one can go to Windy, see the gorillas, but also enjoy another tourism product in a sustainable way. And through writing down and documenting the guidelines, the policies, this is very helpful because the tone is set by the Wildlife Policy, the Wildlife Act, where it directs us and guides us how to make sure we develop these guiding principles for responsible tourism in the country. When it comes to regulation, as I finish, when we are licensing the lodges, we give them guidelines to use. We promote ecologies, but also there are particular guidelines. They are supposed to do environmental and social impact assessments. Tell us, if you set up this product or this lodge, or how is it going to affect socially the communities around? How is it going to affect, are there any mitigation measures that you're putting in place? And we give comments into these studies for NEMA to be able to license or give a certificate for such developments to go on. So this helps us to link us with the private sector, but also helps us to ensure that we have the right safeguards for this development that is coming, not to create negative impact, so that we promote sustainability. We also do e-permitting. Of course, we regulate the wildlife use rights. If you want to own a pet, if you want to carry out wildlife trade, if you want to do wildlife ranching, if you want to set up a zoo, the law allows you, the Uganda Wildlife Act Cap 3 and 5 allows you to do that according to the law and established procedures. And when we are doing, for example, trade and export of wildlife, for example, for research purposes or trophies that have come from sport hunting, we use an e-permitting system as opposed to paper, so that we reduce paper. So we approve everything online. Also, in our business processes, we have reached a level now of reducing paperwork in terms of automation. Right now, as we speak, you can sit in your office or your home and sit on your laptop, get an invoice for yourself for a gorilla permit or chimpanzee permit, print off that invoice, pay online, and then have the permit delivered to you in your inbox, so that you finish the entire process without having to come to the UA office, without having to print anything or using paper. So we have automated our business processes and systems. You can buy off a gorilla permit online and any other services of the Uganda Life Authority. Do you want to go to visit a national park? You can still get this online without necessarily having to come to UA. So the automation bit of our business processes has also helped. So in regulating, we make sure that the people we've licensed follow the rules and regulations. So we've set in motion concession officers who monitor the concessions that are going on. They ensure the quality assurance of what has been licensed, to make sure what we have licensed or concessioned is what is being developed, because people can reach along the way and change. And also we've put in place research and ecological monitoring officers who have particular aspects they are monitoring, who have research about particular species of plants, particular species of animals. They are also following and now developing trends. What is the trend of our wildlife? So that we can tell from the baseline, is this species growing? Is it reducing? What are the factors that are leading to its growth or its reduction? Do we need to translocate some of the numbers to some other conservation area for us to make sure we have an insurance population? So, as the authority, we are working very hard, but also partnerships. We are promoting a lot of partnerships. We are working with the conservation NGOs, individuals. We are working with the people like Little Hands Go Green, Conservation Through Public Health, and many others. We now have a vibrant honorary wildlife officers. I recognize the chairman here. Captain Notka, stand up for recognition. Yes. We had the inauguration of eminent persons about 2 days ago, and these are people who are helping us to monitor. We've put them as the watchdogs out there. Once we are going wrong anywhere, they say, hey, you're going offline, come back. When they are in the communities there, we want to promote coexistence between wildlife and the communities. And these are people who are helping us there in the communities to make sure we promote coexistence. And even these fences and barriers that we're building around parks, I'm sure will come off in future. They'll be removed, because in a place like Bwindi now, the level of illegal activities is tremendously low, very, very low. Why? Because we've allowed people to enjoy the wildlife around. We allow multiple use zonation, where people go into the forest and harvest some non-timber forest products under an ecological monitored approach. And so all these are lessons that are helping us to see how do we scale up in other areas, in other conservation areas, so that we can have an approach that works in some area, but we see how to put in context to also work in another area like Mount Elgon, like in Murchison. And now we are working hard to really work on poaching, so that we bring the poaching instances to the country to zero, and we can achieve that through the recruitment of the rangers we are doing right now, through the training and technology. You have been reading in the papers how we want to acquire helicopters. We've now changed, actually we want to acquire smaller helicopters for each conservation area. We want to be able to, because now we have only one Cessna that patrols and do aerial surveillance over our CAs, but we want to do better and improve our efficiency in that regard. I think I need to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Somehow I gave you more time because, as I said, We had the big fish and we had to make use of it. We had to make so many delicacies out of that fish. Thank you so much, Dr. James. He's really made it clear, spoken about the stabilization of wildlife, restocking, regulations that plug into the lodges, the tour operators, providing employment for the communities so that they can increase our conservation, and even reducing our expenses by going digital. Yeah, you don't need to drive, so you can save that money instead of driving. I want to now call to the audience for questions, comments. I want us to keep them straight, short, and straight to the point. Thank you. Captain.
Just quick one. And I will start with my son, Masembe. I would like to, first of all, to start by thanking all the panelists. They have done an extraordinary job for us. In fact, it's not only one who is a big fish. All of them now seem to be big fish. So to my son, Masembe, you've mesmerized me. I became a member of the Wildlife Clubs of Uganda in 1975, and also became, an employee of parks. At that time, it was Uganda National Parks, as early as that. And while we were in the Wildlife Clubs of Uganda, one of the issues they were telling us was to plant trees, conserve wildlife, and that's exactly what you are doing. And I will need to work also very closely with you. I'm not yet too old to conserve. I'm only 51 years in conservation. But I would like to 51 years in conservation. So you can add my age and you'll get me there over 80s. So to Joseph, carbon reduction and involving the little hands in that, a very good innovation. But my observation when you're talking about, even when I saw on the video, it was only a few selected schools. Do you intend to roll out this? And how soon do you make that? Because for us in Soroti, I come from Teso, we have a big danger. If you travel to Soroti now, the whole area from Bale to wherever you go, to Lira, no vegetation, it has been destroyed. How soon do you intend to roll out this? Then two, so that I don't stand up again, to my daughter, Daniela Finch of Equera. Now, Daniela, you've got a very good initiative, community tourism, which is very, very, very good. You seem to be focusing only in community tourism. There are so many aspects, but from your talk, you seem to be focusing only on the area of wildlife. Do you intend to venture into the area of cultural tourism, so that even me in Soroti, in Soroti we milk cows with using a wooden saucepan. Can I also benefit if I get some tourists coming to help milk my cows using a wooden saucepan in Soroti? Are you intending to venture into that area? Thank you very much. Richard, I'm done.
Chairman.
Thank you so much, Captain. I gave Captain a little more minutes.
Yes.
Because he's the captain. And he tells you in 1975, almost half of this room was not yet born. He was already in wildlife. We want to thank you so much, Captain, for the job well done. Those two questions, how do you intend to roll out? Yeah. Then, Daniela, how do you intend to include cultural tourism communities? Is there any other question? I wanted us to take like 3 questions so that we answer. You have a question also? I thought your job is to help me move the microphone.
After asking.
Okay, ask that question.
Thank you so much, Julius Ruwemba. I'm a journalist. Thank you so much, Doctor. I believe currently I'm the most traveled journalist around. Yeah. And I've seen the VICs and so many developments in the parks. Great work in the 15 months. And some things I want to put to your attention, if not a question. Wildlife user rights that you give out. I don't know how you condition them. I find it disgusting on the internet when I see someone kissing wild animals in their protected whatever sanctuaries. As you allow people to take these wild animals, do you also regulate that kind of behavior? Then 2, on the 20% revenue that is shared with the communities around, when you move with the tourists around, it doesn't seem to reflect as you move. Seeing people, kids, not studying on a school day, begging tourists like this for every vehicle that passes, you feel like the 20%, how is it being absorbed? Do you condition it to fit into maybe the UWA objectives? Then to Daniela, great works there. Currently tour guides are being regulated, if I may say, licensed in one way or the other. They're required to do DIT and all that. Talking about community tourism, how are you going to ensure that they match up to the standards? In 2012, before I ventured into tourism, I was doing what we call the homestays, for example, where I used to have tourists taken to different homestays and stay with the people. Is it something you're looking at as well, or just having the social media guides? You know, we can't have the social media guides who are young people. People just use them to make TikTok and all those to hype their views. They point to directions that they don't even know. Is it the same thing you're doing? Some clarity there. Thank you so much. This could be a lot. Now I'm ready to take around the microphone.
Let's have one question there. Make it, just summarize it. Make it short and clear.
Mr. Masembe, yes, I have a quick question for you. I just want to ask you a bit about your project. When we went to trek with the gorillas near the Nukuringo Gate, I think is correctly how you say it, I noticed that in the area, the general area, there was so much deforestation because there's obviously land population, farmers need land to plant their crops, but there was no indigenous forest left outside of the park area. Everything's been cut down, it's bananas, mangoes. What sort of trees are you planting as part of your project? Are you trying to introduce indigenous plants, or are you trying to introduce plants that will benefit the communities in terms of fruits? Because I think it would be very important to return more indigenous plants if possible. That's my question.
Thank you so much. That's for Joseph. Right behind there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Yampa Abraham, a zookeeper, a tourist guide, conservationist, tourist guide trainer, and a fan. Actually, this, apart from the gentleman and the lady, these people are my mentors. Dr. Gladys, Dr. Msinguzi, these are the people that showed me what to do. But I have a question. I've told you I've been in all these things. I don't know how many people are in tourism as you're in this room. I'm asking, yes, there is conservation and tourism. And everything goes in differently. If you see somebody saying, for a tour operator to get clients to bring into Uganda, to give them to me as a tour guide, goes through a certain channel. But me as a tour guide falls nowhere. I wait for the tour operator to give me clients to take to all these beautiful places that you've done. Sometimes it's hard for me to concentrate and make sure that I internalize what has been said. The moderator is talking about sustainability. How is me, Yampa Abraham, going to live sustainably when I wait for that person? I'm asking this question because it is very, very difficult to find a Mzungu who knows Uganda. Do you understand what I'm saying? getting clients down here is a problem. Reason is that the way we market ourselves, everything is nice. We are the pearl. I come from Kitagwenda, one of the most beautiful places in Uganda. With the oldest...
Summarize the question.
The question is, how do we put everything sustainability into money? For everything that we have done, how do we monetize it?
Okay, how do we... He's speaking to right the heart of the SGs. How do we create revenue? How do we create economic sustainability for the people in the value chain? I think that centers on what we've been discussing. Thank you very much. I will have her question, his question, and the last one. Yes, then him, and the last one, and then the panelists will now take, because each panelist has been noting down what belongs to, then they will be able to answer. Yes,
Thank you so much. My name is Ruth Maromba, and I love to travel. And my question goes to Dr. Msengzi. Last month, I had a couple of friends coming in from Rwanda, and they wanted to do guerrilla trekking. You were talking about e-permitting, right? And when I consulted somebody, they said, well, you'll have to send us original bank slip, or it does not work with photocopies. I'd like to know how convenient and swift it can be for somebody to make a payment and be able to get a permit without having to go to the bank and then securing a hard copy of the bank slip and all that. And then the other thing, I'd like to recommend you for the clearing that you've done in Bwindi. At least I've been there a couple of times, and the roads are a little bit smooth. But then the other thing is, we usually, for the times that I've been there, there have been mudslides. Yes, the clearing is done, but if a mudslides are happening, how best or how convenient, how swift can it be for, I don't know, is it National Roads Authority or whatever it is, how swift can it be for you to clear the way? Because we got stranded for about 30 minutes because there was a mudslide, much as the other part of the road was cleared.
Thank you. Two questions, one about the bank slips, the other one's about the roads maintenance. His question.
Thank you so much. My name is Robson, and I'm a museum curator. So my question goes to Dr. Msengzi about the climate changes. We've seen rising temperatures in Bwindi, and they're affecting the gorillas. So how are we trying to solve those climate changes? Then another question about sustainability. We've seen a lot of dumping. One time I went to Bwindi Predator National Park with UNESCO. I was part of the UNESCO volunteers, and we were collecting those kind of plastics and all that. So how best can you involve us as volunteers to do that? We can, so that at least every month we can go to the park and collect those plastics and all that people dump. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How do you leverage volunteerism in clearing the park? Yes, the last question.
My name is Yakub Bironge, tour operator. This question goes to Dr. Msengzi. Do you have a timeline on growing those wild cats, the lion population you're talking about? And will you be able to brief the tourism public about the progress on that growth? Thank you.
Thank you so much for being quite brief with your question. I will start with Dr. Msengzi, who has the largest number of questions. Let me start with Dr. Msengzi.
We need the microphone. Thank you very much, the audience, for these very good questions. It shows how you are interested in the subject, but also how you are paying attention. Yes, the user rights. The user rights, one of the challenges we've been having has been the staffing at the UWA. But I want to tell you that a new structure has been put in place and has been beefed up with more staff. Because one of the challenges we've been having is a gap in monitoring. I'll be very honest, that some of the user rights we give, there are some activities that are done that are not permissible and are not part of the agreeable activities. But one of the challenges has been that we've not been having a very effective monitoring exercise as a result of lack of enough staff. But even then, once those are documented, then people should be penalized for doing something that is against the license. So what I can promise you is that we are going to, one, increase our monitoring, but also bring people to book in terms of those who do what they are not supposed to do, because this has a negative impact on the destination. I want to tell you, there is somebody who will see that happening in Uganda and will make a decision not to travel to Uganda because of seeing that, somebody kissing an animal. So they must remain within the confines of the license. The activities should remain within the confines of the license. And now we have recruited wildlife use right officers, and they are going to be able to monitor all of these activities. And please, where you see some of those things and we've not seen them, reach out. And this is the partnership I'm talking about. Reach out so that we can bring some of these people to book, because there is a very good, well laid down procedure as to how some of these can be dealt with. We write to them, we summon them to explain themselves, and if they cannot, then we bring them to book, because we are supposed to do so as a regulator. And thank you for bringing that out. You have a concern with the 20% revenue share. Yes. We also have a concern, and as I talk right now, we are reviewing the Uganda Wildlife Act CAP 315. One of the areas we are looking at is the 20% revenue share. We want it reviewed in terms of how it is managed. Because at the moment, it is a conditional grant. The community must come up with a conditional grant. It is conditioned. It must go to a particular aspect of what has been agreed on to be done. It cannot be spread around to do everything else. No, it must be conditioned to a particular grant or a project that the community has agreed on. But one of the greatest challenges we've been having is that the money leaves Uganda Wildlife Authority, we send it to the cow in the district, who sends it down to the various levels, but accountability has been a challenge. Getting accountability from the local government has been a challenge. And one of the problems is that this is enshrined within the law, because local governments by law account to their permanent secretary, or they account to the cow. So when you ask them for accountability for money is disbursed, when they don't account to you by law, we get a challenge there. So we want to address that through the law. And that's one of the emerging changes that we are proposing in the revision of the law, so that we can be able to have more say in the way this money is disbursed. We want to see this money go into scholarships for communities around the protected areas, especially the adjacent parishes. We want to see this money go into scholarships, revolving funds, or even circles for these communities, because what we've discovered from the studies we've done is that the immediately affected families or individuals, the children who spend time not going to school and spend time chasing problem animals, are not benefiting directly. And that has a problem in terms of our partnership and the building a relationship with the communities. And so if it is affecting us, we are trying to see how it is revived or revised, so that we can be able to have this money go and create more value to the immediate communities which are suffering. So that one is coming up in the law, and we think that should be able to help us. There was a question on the permitting. Ruth is asking, how quick can somebody get it? You can now go onto the OA system, generate an invoice, pay using your card, and actually, after paying, you have that permit come into your inbox. So without having to go physically to the Uganda Wildlife Authority, because once you generate the invoice, you have a unique number which you use then to pay, and then we see that, because now it is real time. The moment you pay online, we see now, immediately we see that at the dashboard in the Uganda Wildlife Authority. So we are then able to support the generation of the permit, and it comes to you. And all you will need is to carry that permit to go and track, which you could even carry on your phone without necessarily having to print. In the past, there has been this overemphasizing of printing, you must come with the printed. We want to reduce that and actually eliminate that in the long run. Because then how much paper are we going to be generating, or how many trees are we going to destroy, to be having? No, we are going away from that. And at the moment, the challenge we have is that you can only buy a limited number of permits per day. And that is part of the financial regulations with the bank to make sure that there is no fraud or forgery. But you can actually agree as a tour operator with your bankers to increase the threshold on your card for you to be able to buy more permits per day as opposed to 1 or 2 only. So that can be worked out with the banks. The mudslides, the situation has improved. I want to assure you, because what we have done, we have sent a grader, particularly to Windy, to support the clearance of the mudslide. We have created a very strong bond and partnerships with the Ministry of Works engineers in Kabale. The moment any mudslide comes, we make a phone call, and they come. Right now, we are opening up all the roads. I actually wrote to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works and the Commissioner in charge of roads, and we agreed. They sent us machinery to open up all the windy roads. What UWA is doing is to provide the fuel and the allowance for the operators. That is all. And things are going to improve even more. The tracking roads that are going to the tracking areas are all going to be widened. We're already working on that. We're already now working on Nyabaremura Road. We've finished the park to beach, where you come from the park and go up to Lake Mutanda. That one is okay now. You can reach Lake Mutanda without a problem, because we are saying somebody who enjoys gorillas should also go and enjoy life at the Lake Mutanda. So we are working on these roads, and the ultimate goal, thanks to the IFPA World Bank project, is to have a road unit per conservation area. Wind is one of them. We are going to give them a fully fledged unit, excavators, graders, water bowsers, for them to maintain their roads. That one we're already working on. And of course, through lobbying, you may know that the President has written to the Ministry of Finance. There's a money that is coming from Bahrain that is going to support us sort out those roads once and for all. But as we wait for that, we are doing the maintenance and clearing of those roads so that we can have our tourists enjoy themselves. Yes, climate change, invasives in the national parks, that's a problem that is happening everywhere. Increasing temperatures, plastic. We are forming what we call the Friends of Uganda Wildlife Authority movement, FUA, where we are going to be registering whoever is interested in becoming a friend of UWA to come and support us in some of these initiatives. We can have, for example, the first Saturday of the month where we clean up the national parks in the various areas, and the initiatives that you're talking about. You could be a volunteer, but a friend of the Uganda Wildlife Authority, to join us in some of these initiatives. But of course, we are working very hard. One of the effects of climate change has been the emergence of invasive plant species. And these have been so bad that they chase away the wildlife, since the grass is not palatable anymore. So they go and start looking for grass elsewhere. So we are working very hard to manually remove these invasives. We have also, we are now working with NARO to see how we can work on them biologically. But in our next financial year budget, we have budgeted for a biodigester, a very huge machine that helps to destroy invasive species, because it's a big problem, especially in areas like Queen Elizabeth. But we have planned for it. We've developed an invasive species management strategy that is going to help us eliminate some of these species. And of course, that will help. Of course, increasing temperatures. These are everywhere as a part of climate variability and changes. And we just have to monitor. Like I told you, we are going to start monitoring the weather parameters by recording how are the changes in the temperature, changes in weather, the weather quality, the air quality, and that will help us to make informed decisions and planning in terms of addressing these climatic changes. The final one is about cats. I know that everybody is concerned about lions, about cheetahs, about leopards in our protected areas. We have developed the carnivore conservation strategy. Now, as I talk, the minister himself of tourism has formed a carnivore task force, carnivore regeneration task force, and it's already in place. It has been formed, And that task force is all about reintroducing lions where they have been, the leopards, the cheetahs, and you're going to see action very, very soon. Right now we have started. Very soon we are going to be working with WCS in about a month's time. They're going to set up in Ishasha. We have also, we are going to work with AWF in Chidepo. We were following up our male lion in Chidepo, the one we collared. It has been going up Southern Sudan, coming back, and one of the movements has been, because it has been looking for mates. And now we have made a decision. We are actually going to introduce more female lions so that this male can be able to form more families, so that it can stay in Uganda as opposed to going to Southern Sudan, where it can be killed. So yes, a lot of work is going on in the background. We have done the DNA, genetic profiling and analysis, and the genetic trees of the various lions that we have, the rhinos that we have, and that is going to help us to see which family do we target. One of the discoveries is that we have to look for the particular species that are supposed to be living in this northern area. Because some of them, people are saying, why don't we just go and get lions from Murchison and take, and they produce. Because they produce quickly. But we must put a scientific angle by making sure we introduce a species that is going to survive in that ecosystem, not a species that has not lived there in that ecosystem, so it may not survive. So it is on our radar. We are equally concerned as you're concerned about the number of lions in this country, but I want to tell you, we are going to grow the lions, we are going to collar them, we are going to follow them through Earth Ranger, and they will survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. And I think you believe him because one of his first jobs he did is he translocated the rhinos that had kept on the radar for so long. In the story, they had become so much. Every other day it was rhinos, rhinos. And we want to congratulate you on that achievement. Thank you very much for those answers. Let's give a pat for Daniela, you have 3 minutes.
Great.
To summarize the questions and the answers.
Cool. Thank you for the questions. The first question was about focusing on cultural tourism. Thank you for the question and for the example. Actually, the first community-based tourism experience I did last year in Uganda, actually the first in Uganda ever, it was in the western region, and I milked an Nkole cow. And I don't think they use saucepans there. It was into a bucket, so I think that's quite different. But that's all to say, and I was also very bad at it. But that is to say that, yes, we do focus on cultural tourism as well. Actually, the focus that we have on the platform, or the experiences that we have, are in adventure tourism, they're in culinary tourism, they're in nature tourism. We have a lot of bird watching experiences. We actually just had a very specific gardening experience go on last week as well. So I would say, yeah, we're focusing. Oh, and I was in Fort Portal last year and got in trouble for leaving without an Impako, and we actually have an Impako naming ceremony product as well. So yeah, we actually also believe that community-based tourism is really the strongest form of cultural tourism. I'll say something now that maybe is a bit controversial and would love to hear other opinions, but I was in a dinner in Frankfurt in Germany in December, and I had a travel agent come to me and say, hey, we don't love when our guests just see the Batwa or a different type of people just come up and dance and leave, because it's not so close and community oriented, right? We want to meet them, we want to dance with them, and so we actually don't really promote so much just performances, because if I'm performing for you, then that's kind of a different setting than if I'm getting to know you and understanding your culture. So we actually really encourage that the cultural tourism is participatory, and that's what we see that tourists want too. They want to stand next to each other, not somebody watching somebody, right? And so I think that's been a really nice shift. And that's why we believe community-based tourism is kind of actually the strongest form of cultural tourism. So that's where we're headed with that. And on the question as well, I think the gentleman left the room, but on the question about how do we ensure the standards, it's a good question. We didn't talk so much about how the technology works, but we also have what's called a digital accelerator, and this is WhatsApp-based, and we send WhatsApp capacity building and training to the community-based tourism organizations to help them really deliver the best experience that they can, so that guests and travelers are happy, that they keep coming back. We do have an onboarding process, so any organization that's not yet ready to go to the market, we work with them until they are and help them that way. And we are considering homestays as well. We start though more with experiences, because homestays, a traveler that wants to stay in a homestay has a different preference than a traveler that wants to stay in a luxury lodge. But 90% of travelers want to experience life like a local. So we believe that all travelers might want to go to the Impako naming ceremony, and one can stay with the community in the homestay and one can stay in the lodge that night. So that's, and then the last question that I'm going to answer of how we make money on ESG. I think social sustainability is a great way to bring in and strengthen additional tourism revenue, because it is maybe creating more product offerings than just the standard ones that you think about when you think about Uganda. So I think it can only help enhance. It can also, we also talk to lodges about offering community-based tourism experiences to extend that traveler stay at the lodge. So maybe if the lodge can offer 1 or 2 more activities, somebody will stay an extra day after they've done their wildlife experiences. So that's how we see sustainable tourism bringing more money in as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. I'll have Gladys. Gladys had very few questions, so I'll give you 1 minute to say your parting shots.
Okay, I don't think I had any question.
Yeah, no question. So you can just say, what is that one word you can say that we can take away today? That's
okay. I think the one word we can take away today is sustainable tourism is a collective effort. You have to bring in all stakeholders in order to make it happen. The Wildlife Authority can't do it alone. The Tourism Board can't do it alone. The communities can't do it alone. It's a sustainable effort, a collective effort. There's something I said I was going to talk about, but I think I'll say it. I know we're currently facing a crisis with the Ebola outbreak. And I think we need to work much more closely with the Ministry of Health in the way they make announcements, because it's really disrupted tourism and it's disrupted the economy right now. Because this outbreak is not any different from the others. We've had 6 outbreaks in Uganda, by the way, Ebola outbreaks or more, I don't know, but I think about 6. Many more people have died in these previous outbreaks. It's not stopped anything moving. You know, Uganda is known now for containing, we're the leaders, among the leaders in the world in public health. Even when there was the very big outbreak in West Africa, Ugandan doctors were told to go over to West Africa. And they earned a lot of money, by the way, and they managed to keep things under control and help a lot. So suddenly now, it's just become, it's taken us, I don't know how many years back, to how we get back our reputation, even in public health, let alone tourism. So we can't have a green destination if somebody just gets up and makes something, announces something that is just going to disrupt everything.
Thank you.
2 cases from DRC, it suddenly become Uganda as a hotbed of Ebola, which is totally inaccurate. Yes, and so this is the very first time that people have been stopped to travel to America. Not only Ugandans, but I hear even Americans can't come to Uganda, as we spoke earlier today. And Americans, if they're going to go back, they're going to get checked. I mean, everybody has been disrupted. No more visas, no more everything. I have to say I'm a victim of that. Can't get a visa right now to travel to National Geographic Explorers Festival, which is really featuring us, our work, and featuring the work that Ugandans are doing. And they're very disappointed. And yet it's been blown out of proportion. I'm a One Health expert. I'm a One Health champion. But this has really gone overboard. So maybe one thing we need to do is there needs to be much more careful reporting. Ministry of Health, before they release anything, they have to work very closely with all stakeholders. There's tourism, trade, education, there's a whole range of stakeholders, but they have to work. They can't just go out and release things.
Sure, thank you. It's just sad that the information circulating out there is inaccurate. A delegation that was supposed to be coming to Uganda to teach at my college was stopped at the airport and asked to go back to their homes. It's that bad. But we are picking on the positives and we're saying, what do we do about this? We're not going to cry, but we're going to send the positive messages. Sometimes they're in the rooms where we do not sit, but I think we can make a contribution. I am giving it to Joseph.
I've managed to convince students to come. They've come because they trust us, but now they're worried about being checked when they return.
Going back.
Yes, so it's making life difficult for everyone, and we just have to be careful when we report. It has to be responsible reporting of things like that.
The president said, but also the people who make these statements out there should also first cross-check the science we have here. I think we have very good science. Thank you very much, Joseph.
Before I give my parting shots, I think history will condemn us if we did not give a special shout out to the uniform of the big fish. You know, I last saw that at the swearing in ceremony. But yes, I just want to say that. But very briefly, and I'll start with El Capitan, you talked about, you saw a video, it was a 2-minute, 3-minute video out of work that we have done in 14 years. But just to align your fears, I am coming, or we are coming to Soroti for 2 reasons. One, Soroti is famed for what they call the Kakungulu trees. They used to be a permanent feature when you enter into Soroti. They have now disappeared. And Kakungulu was from 100 years. But I've gone to the museum, which also touches into ecotourism, at Akalabai in Etuturi for the Itesots. It's a very big museum, it's beautiful, but it hasn't been fully developed. I have had a chat with Papa Morimor and the mayor of Esudu, the new mayor of Soroti, and Calvin Echodu. So we have a campaign to plant 5 million trees with the Itesots across. So rest assured, we are coming, and that's what we try and do. We can't do it alone logistically, it's expensive. So we tap into resources and partners, and that's how we will end up in Soroti. And which ties into what you asked about, the kind of trees we do. Because we work with children, our starting point is always fruit trees. Because I grew up getting excited watching a tree, a bean germinate. And that informed my decision into fruit trees. Secondly, historically, before, what do you call them? These, you know, Google Maps and all these other things, Garmin came in. Traditionally, the way I would get to his home was if you keep going and find a big mango tree, take the left turn. Keep going till you find the big fene tree. You'll have arrived. So you clap for that, ladies and gentlemen. Historically, our communities never cut fruit trees, even firewood, historically. So that is why that becomes the starting point in increasing our green cover. But additionally, we now add in the indigenous trees that are becoming extinct. But you need something that sits in a community. Because if I come to a community around Bwindi and I plant 1,000 mango trees, it means just apart from the vegetation cover, there will be no malnutrition. There'll be fruits and vitamins and all those other things. So let's tap into the health issues, but also now add on the indigenous trees, the muvule, the eucalyptus, and that kind of thing. Run away from eucalyptus and pine completely, and also because as a conservationist, so many years ago, people came from the global north. They brought beautiful campaigns here called Solog Project and others, which would encourage us to plant like 10 hectares of pine. And when you drive up country, you'd be so excited. You go back after 3 years, you can't see them because people have harvested them for commercial. So as I close, wherever you are, it's not just about little hands. The ecosystem of a child is so huge that a child has a mother, a father, grandmother, friends, aunties, uncles. So wake up today as you celebrate Poate and go and plant just 1 fruit tree with any child, whether yours or a cousin or etc. You will be amazed at what that will do 5 years later. When, yes, we clap for that as well. As I summarize, and I think it will tap into what Mr. Yampa said. Yampa was the name, right? Yes. He's saying he's a tourism operator. And he says he's waiting for people to bring him the tourists. That is unacceptable. You can take a donkey to the well, but you cannot force it to drink water. Tour operators and all these other companies abroad, etc., will bring the tourists to Uganda. You as a tour guide will take them around. you will give them the exploration experience. Now, the quality of your experience will force them to sneak back to Uganda even when there is no planned tour. So it is up to you. If an American comes, or a German, or a Chinese, and they don't come back, check yourself. The idea is, give me the kind of experience that will force me to come back to Uganda. Explore, not visit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've had a very good, very
Thanking
nice.
some team members of my team are here. Could you please stand up?
Members of
Richard,
Conservation,
Lydia,
yes.
Cosmas. Thank you all. You can talk to them also about our work. Thank you.
I also have colleagues here from the Uganda Wildlife Authority. Please stand up for recognition. Yes, the mighty UA. Thank you. Thank you for your support. They have been supporting me in the background. Thank you. Yes, you are.
And
You
in
are.
the same
Historical.
spirit, the little hands are also represented. Can you please stand up?
Oh yeah.
And just to show you before I close, my brother, the tour guide, yes, Mr. Yampa, about how you can take the own initiative. Yesterday, one of my daughters, not biological, my green ambassadors, received a brown envelope from the president. And I will tell you, when I went to one of the schools, I saw her. She was very eloquent as a very young MC for the school. So I told her, you are going to be an MC at a green festival. I crowned her as an ambassador, and I told her, don't just wear a sash. Start to take charge of the environment. And she has gone places. She's planting trees. She's doing 1 million trees. She was with the president. And I'm saying, now that is initiative. I handed her the sash. I gave her the tools. And one day she went to her village and saw a forest degraded. She said, I have to do much. She came and looked at doctor and said, I want to be like that lady. And here she is. So she's going places. So let's take our personal initiative, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. He said about PI, personal initiative. If you don't have personal initiative, even if they give you a job, you may complain. Personal initiative is that drive that we have. Thank you very much, our panelists, Dr. James Msinguz, for your passionate submissions. Sister Daniela, thank you very much for combined tech and the community. Dr. Gladys, we can't say much. Thank you so much for even bringing out our current predicament, but how do we work about that? And Joseph. I met Joseph a long time ago when he was still in UBL. He was the events manager then. And I am happy that actually you've carried on this passion of mobilizing communities for the good. We're going to, I'll ask the panelists to come out for a group photo. And as they come out for the group photo, you've won yourself a bag full of goodies from Explore Uganda. And a captain will be the one handing over the bags to the panelists. I think we'll step down. We'll step down here. The photographers, please help me. Where is the best position here? Do we have the tallest in the middle?
And while they are getting the pull-up banner, I saw some officials here from UTB. I know you have taken a register. Everybody who has come to this session, if you like a fruit tree to plant, please get in touch with UTB. We'll deliver, 500 fruit trees to UTB, and you can always be able to pick them and plant and celebrate Powate 2026, the Little Ones Go Green Way. Thank you.
And everybody who's come to this session, we're inviting you for a free cup of coffee at the Gorilla Conservation Cafe in Entebbe. Wow. You're supporting gorillas one sip at a time, and farmers as well.
picture, a quick laugh like that.
Now we dance.